To those of you who earn a good salary in a low-stress job, what do you do? Story 1. I'm a truck driver, home every day, just listening to music and watching the sunrise. I make about $80K, but I could make much more if I put in more hours. The worst part is having people complain about my existence, but I just have a screw them mentality. However, I wouldn't recommend truck driving to others because it's challenging to find a well-paying job. I was fortunate enough to get hired by a company that offers daily commutes as soon as I got my commercial driver's license. Surprisingly, long-haul drivers make less than those who commute daily, which seems to be a common misconception. Story 2. I'm a deckhand in a tugboat in New York, earning $385 a day. The next promotion to mate pays $580 a day, while the captain earns $670 a day. We live on the boat and travel up and down the East Coast, mainly the Northeast, for 2 weeks, then have 2 weeks off. We eat mostly free food and watch satellite TV. I bring my Xbox and play a few hours every day, using my phone as a hotspot. I'm literally just chilling for 2 weeks with friends. Plus, I get full benefits. A 401k match of $1 for $1 up to 6%, starting from the beginning. Story 3. I'm an operator at a nuclear plant, making up to $180K depending on how much overtime I work. If I don't work overtime, I make $140K, working only 32 to 48 hours a week. It's shift work, which can take a toll, but it's a union job, and we're treated well. It's relatively low stress because if you can pass the monthly exams that demonstrate your knowledge of nuclear plant operations, you shouldn't have any concerns. However, if you're not as book smart as the rest of the team, passing the initial training and continuing education could be challenging. Moral of the story, if you can pass the training, it's a low-stress job. Story 4. As a firefighter, I experience low stress once my shift is over because there are no lingering deadlines or unfinished work waiting for me the next day. However, when I'm on duty, there can be moments of pretty high stress. It's not chronic stress, just occasional bursts of intense stress. Story 5. During my summer job, I worked as a tree planter for 9 years while I was in school. After a few summers of experience, I was able to make about $16K in just 2 months and spent almost nothing. If you can handle the weather and have the right attitude, it's a stress-free job. Wake up, eat, plant trees, eat, sleep, and repeat. Now that I have a master's degree and 15 years of experience in my real job, I still don't make quite as much as I did back then. I spent 5 summers in Ontario and 4 in BC. I don't recommend going to Ontario because the conditions are much worse and the tree prices are lower. But I still made $5K in 2 months my first summer, 98. It was still pretty good compared to anything I could have done in the city. The southern interior of BC is where it's at. Good weather, laid-back atmosphere, at least on my crew, and beautiful scenery. You got paid per tree, and the range I saw through my career was 7.5 to 32 cents per tree. So the more you plant, which means the harder you work, the more you make. There's a pretty steep learning curve. So your first year or two, you'll feel like you're busting your ass for peanuts and swear the vets are cheating to be putting in the numbers they claim. It gets much better with experience. The type of tree and land you're planting affect the price. Just because you're getting a high price per tree doesn't mean you're making the most money. Sometimes I'd be excited to bend over for 20 cents but not want to get out of bed for 32 cents. It's not for everyone, since you're usually living in the bush with other like-minded individuals for days to weeks on end. Story 6. Sysadmin. If it isn't broken, I don't fix it. Although I received my degree in psychology, I worked as an IT staff member in the Student Affairs Division at the university I attend. There's nothing better than experience. A couple of weeks before graduation, I applied for a job as an IT field technician at a major hospital in my state. After 2 tests and an interview, I got the job and did everything they asked of me, including working overtime and being the first one in and the last one out, because I knew I wanted to become a sysadmin. Saying yes to everything eventually led to SCCM training. And then one of the server teams needed someone who knew how to use SCCM. I worked with them for 6 months on a major project, did a fantastic job, and they hired me at the end of the project. All of this happened within 2 years of graduating. A lot of my friends believe I'm lucky, but I believe that fortune favors the bold. They only see the easy parts, such as graduating from college, earning a good salary, and then receiving a promotion and earning an even higher salary. They weren't there for the 2 a.m. calls where I had to get out of bed to fix a computer that had exploded and was supposed to show patients' x-rays. Or the 2 years of on-call rotations when I'd be paged 4 to 5 times a night and would have to drive to the hospital for an average of 2 of those calls. The rest could be fixed remotely. Within my first year, out of a team of 25 field techs, I was the go-to guy for questions. I'm sorry if I'm going off on a tangent or boasting. These types of questions always get me going, because so many people on the internet claim that it's no longer possible to work your way up anymore. Keep your eyes open, ignore the negative people, and network with everyone. Don't ever forget that regardless of what you do in IT, there's always a person on the other end of it. You're first and foremost a customer service expert and then an IT guy. I can easily identify 3 or 4 people on my previous field tech team who were smarter, better with computers, and more involved in the IT side of things than I was. They lacked empathy and customer service skills. They eventually moved up, but it took them much longer and was a much more difficult process. Be the person everyone wants to work with, or at the very least, be the person people know they can approach. Too many IT old-timers are gatekeepers to their own knowledge because they believe it's their ticket to job security. Doing a good job should be your ticket to job security. So those were my steps. If you want something a little more tangible than the verbal diarrhea I just spewed, I suggest looking into healthcare. It's an ever-expanding sector where they frequently hire recent college graduates, and it always looks great in a resume because they know you can handle emergencies. Cybersecurity in healthcare is becoming increasingly important. We just increased our security team by 30 because hospitals are required to protect PHI, protected health information, due to regulations requiring them to move toward electronic patient charts. Otherwise, they could face a significant fine for data breaches. Story 7. I guess my job is not low stress or high paying to most people, but it checks both boxes for me as a single 24-year-old male. I work in rural EMS in Canada. My schedule is 96 hours on, followed by 96 hours off. In other words, I work for 4 days straight and then get 4 days off. I live in a big city, but the town where I work is 1 hour and 40 minutes away, so my commute is not terrible when you consider that I only need to make the drive once every 4 days. When I'm actually at work, I can do whatever I want as long as we don't get a call. My company sets us up with a nice staff house, satellite TV, Wi-Fi, and a decent gym. I spend my days playing video games with my coworkers. There are 4 of us on shift, watching TV or movies, cooking, eating, working out, taking a nap, shooting the breeze with my coworkers, etc. If we do get a call, we have 8 minutes to respond, so I can lounge around in pajamas all day if I want, and if I need to run an errand in town, I can usually get it done without getting more than 8 minutes away from the station. The calls can be kind of bad, lots of highway accidents and farming accidents, but I find the really weird ones are few and far between. Most calls are just driving people who don't feel well to the hospital, but I do enjoy the tough calls because they challenge me to make quick decisions and use my skills. In 96 hours, we usually average about 5 to 6 calls. However, I have literally worked 96 hours without a single call on more than one occasion. Regardless, I never take the work home with me. I make around $70,000 per year with good benefits, and there are lots of opportunities to pick up extra shifts, which are paid at double time. Story 8. College professor. If you find a field you love, you get to talk about your favorite thing for 15 hours a week, earn the income of a full-time job, and get several months off a year. Quotes because you use that time for grading and prepping stuff for the next semester. And of course, you work longer than 15 hours a week. But what that work consists of varies widely. If it's a community college, it's pretty chill, mostly meetings and waiting for students to see you. Research positions vary in responsibilities. Specialized schools could be chill or more demanding, but there's potential for the majority of your time outside the classroom to be up to you and how you spend it. Story 9. I'm a medical radiation technologist. I think my job is one of the least stressful. We don't work long hours like nurses and doctors, and our main priority is to take diagnostic images of patients. But once we're done, the patients are taken away by porters, so we spend a little time with them. At the end of the day, when we finish our hours, we just head home and relax. I find it a relaxing job that gets easier the better your skill set. There are usually people to help you. This is strictly for x-rays only, not CT or MRI, which is more stressful since you're on a schedule. I kind of like my job. Story 10. I'm a teacher and stressed out constantly. I create individualized lesson plans for 20 students in 4 subjects a day, 5 days a week. I evaluate data, search for supplemental materials, adapt crappy curriculum, use buzzwords for the admin, pacify parents, and keep records. My students are 5. It shouldn't be this way. Story 11. I'm a personal assistant for a high-end real estate agent. The first few months were stressful, constantly trying to work out how he operates, but now that I have it worked out, I get everything done in advance for him and spend most of my day chatting with others in the office, drinking coffee and going on Reddit. I despise working. I've always hated it. I thought I would grow out of it, but at 27, I just seem to dislike it even more. So finding a job that I can be excellent at with minimum effort and stress that pays me well is a dream. I also start early and don't take lunch, so I'm home in good time for my doggo. Story 12. Just so you know, low stress does not always equate to low effort. Anyway, my official job title is senior producer, but it should probably be wearer of many hats. On a given day, I write, shoot, edit, and produce between 7 and 12 unique videos, along with all of the associated assets, splash screens, and tie-in media. Said videos are then published to a handful of sites, after which I prepare and disseminate just over a dozen newsletters. Once that part is finished, I do back-end maintenance on a few of the pages in question, followed by some light community management. If I'm lucky, I'll get 15 minutes to rush out, grab lunch, and make my way back to the studio, after which I'll devote myself to editing the stories that our writers put together. That's followed by a focus on whatever one-off projects might be in the pipeline, which usually include a fair amount of asset creation or adjustment, and a final look at the documentation associated with any of the above endeavors, which I'll update as necessary. When I finally leave at the end of the day, I'm exhausted. It's a lot of work, but I'm happy with the fact that I have creative control, and I'm pleased to be making something with an immediately visible end result. And most importantly of all, I'm not bored. For me at least, there's nothing more stressful than boredom. Story 13. I'm a senior accountant for an oil and gas company. It is a small family-operated company, and the president takes very good care of the employees and their families in terms of compensation, bonuses, and benefits, unlike other larger oil and gas companies that have been hit hard in recent years. This one is still very much in the black. Make no mistake, the actual work is very busy and fast-paced. My career has advanced pretty fast here, going from knowing nothing about the oil and gas industry to being one of the 3 most senior accountants here in just a few short years. There's always something new to learn and skills to advance. Really, it's not just the career role itself that makes it low stress, but also the place I work. The respect of the company and people here have for each other is a rare find. Everyone loves their job, and the company is always pushing and making good on the ideal that employees are the biggest asset. Both people above and below me are highly talented, respectful, and very easy to work with. I have to work a weekend every once in a while from home, just to be sure my duties are done to the best of my ability. However, for the most part, I go in at 8 a.m., leave at 5 p.m., and my job ends there. It is very flexible, and I can work from home or leave early. The trust here that everyone is busting ass is a big part of that. This is my dream job. After years of bad jobs inside and outside the field after graduating college, I got really lucky. Story 14. I teach English in China. I work 12 hours a week, earning roughly $2,700 a month. Almost all living expenses are paid, and I receive 1 returning flight a year. I have 3 months off a year, but I'm paid for 11 months. But I make way more than I could spend considering the cost of living here. I could easily save $2,000 a month. I have plenty of time to pursue my hobbies, and even my time in the office is very relaxed as my classes are so basic. Story 15. I work in data analytics. Today, I make a $75,000+ salary in a market where $250,000 buys 3,500 square feet, with good benefits working from home Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. I haven't worked a weekend or night, more than 40 hours in years. There's no commute, no traffic, no office drama, and no dress code. I don't have a degree or any special training, just an eye for patterns and a fascination with data. I started my career 13 years ago doing outbound telemarketing for a credit card company, nights and weekends for $9 an hour. It was basically the first job I could find with healthcare insurance. Just about once a year, I looked for something that was a little bit of a stretch and moved for a raise. Mastered the job, then moved again. I'm going to school now for a degree only because my work will pay for it. Story 16. I work as a landman in the oil and gas industry. While that title is sort of all-inclusive and covers a ton of different jobs, I spend most of my time researching the history of property to see who has owned it for the past 150 years and what they've done with it, e.g. mortgages, oil and gas leases, easements, etc. Oil and gas companies want this information so they can determine who to lease or pay when they drill for oil. All of this information is available in county courthouses, so I spend about half of my time there reading old documents. The rest of the time, I'm able to work from home. It's a very chill job. I don't really have a boss, no one really bothers me when I'm working, and courthouses can be almost like libraries sometimes. It's also a very rewarding job because you're sort of figuring out a puzzle and get to see something through to completion before moving to your next project. There are sometimes deadlines and priorities, but they're never too bad for me, and I always hit them. It can also get stressful when there's no work or you have to move around, but I still think it's worth it. Generally, most people have a degree, but not always. It's still very much an industry that relies heavily on networking. And I know several people who do what I do and make great money without a degree. I've made over $100,000 a year for about 5 years now, and I've only been doing it for 7. Story 17. I work for one of the world's largest board game companies. Most of my job is granting studios in other countries access to our files so they can translate them, sell them to their country's retailers, and then pay us a royalty. I get to go on trips to check out their studios to make sure they're up to the job, go to a lot of game conventions, and literally am required to play games with the coworkers I love at least a couple of times a week. The benefits are great. Being only 2 years out of college, the work experience and salary are good. Story 18. I work midnights as a direct support professional for people with developmental disabilities. 90% of the time, I'm on Reddit, drawing or watching movies. Most of the time, the guys in the group home are sleeping. It doesn't pay anything like amazing, But $10.25 plus benefits isn't all that bad when all I have is a GED and a few hours of training. Some people couldn't do it. Too nervous around people who are definitely not neurotypical. One of the guys right now a few feet away is just rapidly rocking in the recliner as he watches TV and occasionally makes noises, which I just realized would freak a lot of people out. Story 19. I'm self-employed, but I guess it still counts. I help small to mid-sized companies grow their business online, both strategically and operationally. The requirement is that they already have a decent revenue stream and profit. Then my recipe is very simple. Revamp their website, build content, like blog posts and landing pages, to get more organic traffic, and buy ads, if the data shows it's profitable. The demand is so high that I have set up 4 rules. Number 1, there shall be no demand that I'm physically present. Number 2, clients shall not tell me how many hours I need to work. They should be happy with the hours I allocate for them. Number 3, there should be no deadlines. Number 4, I only take projects that I find fun. I can work from wherever I want, whenever I want, as long as I have some electricity and an internet connection. My clients are happy because I bring in good results that cover whatever they pay me. Some of my clients have internal statements saying, "We put our employees' well-being before business, so I never have to feel bad if I take a day off to do something I like." They encourage me to do it. I could easily work 300%, but I chose to work half-time. At this point, I should hire more people. I probably will, but I enjoy my freedom a bit too much still. Story 20. Swimming pool repair. I get paid by the job, not by the hour. If I want to mess around all day, I do. If I want to make a ton of money, I bust my ass all day. I get to make my own hours. I quote my own prices, and I knock off early for a matinee or for beers with friends whenever the hell I want. I average about $75,000 a year. Story 21. Digital media marketing. I make okay money, $80K, and work from home. Some days I'll have about 1 to 2 hours worth of work to do, but probably 2 to 3 days a week I do almost nothing. Sometimes I feel bad for how little I work compared to the credit I get, but a large part of my job is reactionary, so I figured as long as I'm there when I'm needed, then I'm earning my wage. I've also been doing this for 6 years, so I can do it with my eyes closed. I get no joy from it, but it's so easy, and I work from home, so meh. Story 22. I work in health insurance. I've been there for 9 years, so the raises add up to a decent salary even though it's basically a data entry job. I pull in 6.5 hours of PTO per paycheck, which will get bumped to 8 next year. I work from home, so I gas up my car about once a month. I get to go for a walk every morning with my wife and our dogs. I cook all of my lunches, so I almost never spend money on eating out. I play Skyrim on my lunch breaks. I watch YouTube and Netflix while I work. I wear jeans and a t-shirt every day. I get to chill with my dogs and cats while I work. I never have to stress out about scheduling someone to come over and work on something at my house. I just let the dude in, get back to work, and pay him before he leaves. I don't have to maintain my own PC for work either. They gave me one to keep at home. December and January are the most stressful times of the year at my job, and even then, I sometimes forget they pay me to do this stuff. Story 23. I'm an instructional designer at a community college. I teach the professors how to better utilize technology in their classrooms. I provide some training, work one-on-one, and deal with the rare egotistical freaks. It's incredibly low stress as it's a community college, so there's a lot less ego from the people I work with. My downtime is spent researching new technologies and trying to find 3D models to print for my faculty to use in class. As someone who is K-12, it's less stressful but still rewarding. Story 24. I'm the director of membership at a private country club. I make $60,000 plus per year, get free golf and free meals and beverages whenever. I can't drink alcohol on property at all, not even off the clock, which is easy as long as you put in a little amount of work, and technically I can golf every day if I really wanted to. I worked my ass off from the bottom up for 5 years and had a great opportunity to open up in-house with not very many ideal candidates in line for it. Now, I'm on the fast track to GM before 30 if I play my cards right. Story 25. I'm a civilian security guard in an army based in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by thousands of square miles of empty desert. I made $60,000 this year for watching tumbleweeds and jackrabbits.